don't know you. What do you want? Yes, it truly... A rare thank you. Your tone lacks sense. Thank you. We are truly friends. I am Shamargro Ogar, barbarian. I'm a barbarian and proud of it. I like the wilderness and know how to live comfortably off the land. I know the various creatures of the wild, how to hunt them, what bits are good to eat, and what bits the city folk will pay for. I know weapons and armor, and how to stay healthy, so I can play soldier for pay. But I hate taking orders, so I rather live by hunting. Slavery is protected by law in Morrowind. Slavery is illegal throughout the rest of the Empire. But some Dunmer still defend their ancient right to own slaves. In Morrowind, slaves are bound by enchanted slaver bracers. The bracers drain the magicka from the slaves, so they can't use magic to escape. Unless you have a key, you can't get the slave bracers off. The Emperor should put a stop to slavery, but the Dunmer claim the right to own slaves is guaranteed by the armistice.
How does it feel to know death is near? Now this is fighting. Arr!
The simulacrum of the Nechiman's wife, who carried the egg of Vivek within it, went back to looking for the lands of the Indoril. Along the journey, many more spirits came to see it and offer instructions to its son-daughter, the future glorious invisible warrior-poet of Vvardenfell, Vivek. A troop of spirits called the Lobbyists for the Coincidence Guild appeared. Vivek understood the challenge immediately and said, "The popular notion of God kills happenstance." The head of the Lobbyists, whose name is forgotten, tried to defend the concept's existence. He said, "Saying something at the same time can be magical." Vivek knew that to retain his divinity, that he must make a strong argument against luck. He said, "Is not the sudden revelation of corresponding conditions and disparate elements that gel at the moment of the coincidence one of the prerequisites to being, in fact, coincidental? Synchronicity comes out of repeated coincidences at the lowest level. Further examination shows it is the utter power of the sheer number of coincidences that leads one to the idea that synchronicity is guided by something more than chance. Therefore, synchronicity ends up invalidating the concept of the coincidental, even though they are the symptomatic signs that bring it to the surface. Thus was coincidence destroyed in the land of the Veloti. Then an old bone of the earth rose up before the simulacrum of the Nechiman's wife and said, "If you are to be born a ruling king of the world, you must confuse it with new words. Set me into pondering." "Very well," Vivek said. "Let me talk to you of the world, which I share with mystery and love. Who is her capital? Have you taken the scenic route of her cameo? I have. Lightly in secret, missing candles because they're on the untrue side, and run my hand along the edge of a shadow made from 103 divisions of warmth, and left no proof." At this, the old bone folded unto itself 20 times, until it became akin to milk, which Vivek drank, becoming a ruling king of the world. Finally, the Chancellor of Exactitude appeared, and he was perfect to look upon from every angle. Vivek understood the challenge immediately and said, "Certitude is for the puzzle box logicians and girls of white glamour who harbour it on their own time. I am a letter written in uncertainty." The Chancellor bowed his head and smiled 50 different and perfect ways all at once. He pulled the astrolabe of the universe from his robe and broke it in half, handing both halves to the egg image of Vivek. Vivek laughed and said, "Yes, I know. The slave labour of the senses is as selfish as polar ice, and worsens when energies are spent on a life others regard as fortunate. To be a ruling king, I will have to suffer much that cannot be suffered, and to weigh matters that no astrolabe or compass can measure." The ending of the words is Almsivi. Norbuth was leaving his favourite pub in Camlawn, the Breaking Branch, when he heard 300 years ago, when Kataria became empress, the first and only Dunmer to rule all of Tamriel, she faced opposition from the Imperial Council. Even after she convinced them that she would be the best regent to rule the empire, while her husband Pelagius sought treatment for his madness, there was still conflict, in particular from the Duke of Vengetto, Thane Minglumaya, who took a particular delight in exposing all of the Empress's lack of practical knowledge. In this particular instance, Kataria and the Council were discussing the unrest in Black Marsh and the massacre of Imperial troops outside the village of Armanias. The sodden swampland and the sweltering climate, particular in summertide, would endanger the troops if they wore their usual armour. "I know a very clever armourer," said Kataria. "His name is Hazadir, an Argonian who knows the environments our army will be facing. I knew him in Vivek City, where he was a slave to the master armourer there, before he moved to the Imperial City as a freedman. We should have him design armour and weaponry for the campaign." Minglumaya gave a short, barking laugh. "She wants a slave to design the armour and weaponry for our troops. Cyrolus Sacus is the finest armourer in the Imperial City. Everyone knows that." After much debate, it was finally decided to have both armourers contend for the commission. The council also elected 2 champions of equal power and prowess, Nandor Bereid and Raphalas Yule, to battle using the arms and armaments of the real competitors in the struggle. Whichever champion won, the armourer who supplied him would earn the Imperial Commission. It was decided that Bereid would be outfitted by Hazadir and Yule by Sacus. The fight was scheduled to commence in 7 days. Cyrolus Sacus began work immediately. He would have preferred more time, but he recognized the nature of the test. The situation in Armanias was urgent. The Empire had to select their armourer quickly, and once selected, the preferred armourer had to act swiftly and produce the finest armour and weaponry for the Imperial army in Black Marsh. It wasn't just the best armourer they were looking for, it was the most efficient. Sacus had only begun steaming the half-inch strips of black virgin oak to bend into bands for the flanges of the armour joints when there was a knock at his door. His assistant Fandius ushered in the visitor. It was a tall reptilian of common markings, a dull green-fringed hood, bright black eyes, and a dull brown cloak. It was Hazadir, Kataria's preferred armourer. "I wanted to wish you the best of luck on the... Is that ebony?" It was indeed. Sacus had bought the finest quality ebony weave available in the Imperial City as soon as he heard of the competition and had begun the process of smelting it. Normally, it was a 6-month procedure refining the ore, but he hoped that a massive convection oven stoked by white flames born of magicka would shorten the operation to 3 days. Sakkas proudly pointed out the other advancements in his armoury. The acidic lime pools to sharpen the blade of the daikatana to an unimaginable degree of sharpness. The akaviri forge and tongs he would use to fold the ebony back and forth upon itself. Hazadir laughed. "Have you been to my armoury? It's 2 tiny smoke-filled rooms. The front is a shop. The back is filled with broken armour, some hammers, and a forge. That's it. That's your competition for the millions of gold pieces in Imperial commission. I'm sure the Empress has some reason to trust you to outfit her troops," said Cyrillus Sakkas kindly. He had, after all, seen the shop and knew that what Hazadir said was true. It was a pathetic workshop in the slums, fit only for the lowliest of adventurers to get their iron daggers and cuirasses repaired. Sakkas had decided to make the best quality, regardless of the inferiority of his rival. It was his way, and how he became the best armourer in the imperial city. Out of kindness, and more than a bit of pride, Sakkas showed Hazadir how, by contrast, things should be done in a real professional armoury. The Argonian acted as an apprentice to Sakkas, helping him refine the ebony ore and to pound it and fold it when it cooled. Over the next several days they worked together to create a beautiful daikatana with an edge honed to a keen sharp enough to trim a mosquito's eyebrows, enchanted with flames along its length by one of the imperial battle mages, as well as suit of armour of bound wood, leather, silver and ebony to resist the winds of oblivion. On the day of the battle, Sakkas, Hazadir and Fandius finished polishing the armour and brought in Rafalas Yule for the fitting. Hazadir left only then, realizing that Nandor Baraid would be at his shop shortly to be outfitted. The 2 warriors met before the Empress and Imperial Council in the arena, which had been flooded slightly to simulate the swampy conditions of Black Marsh. From the moment Sakkas saw Yule in his suit of heavy ebony and blazing daikatana, and Baraid in his collection of dusty, rusted lizard scales and spear from Hazadir's shop, he knew who would win, and he was right. The first blow from the daikatana lodged in Baraid's soft shield, as there was no metal trim to deflect it. Before Yule could pull his sword back, Baraid let go of the now flaming shield, still stuck on the sword, and poked at the joints of Yule's ebony armour with his spear. Yule finally retrieved his sword from the ruined shield and slashed at Baraid, but his light armour was scaled and angled, and the attacks rolled off into the water, extinguishing the daikatana's flames. When Baraid struck at Yule's feet, he fell into the churned mud and was unable to move. The Empress, out of mercy, called a victor. Hazadir received the commission, and thanks to his knowledge of Argonian battle tactics and weaponry and how best to combat them, he designed implements of war that brought down the insurrection in Armenius. Kataraya won the respect of council, and even grudgingly that of Thane Minglumaya. Cyrillus Sakkas went to Morrowind to learn what Hazadir learned there, and was never heard from again.
Is there something I can do for you? You have come to Ghostgate, Pilgrim, the last good place on the edge of Red Mountain. Rest and take advantages of our services. Or if there's someone in particular you want, or a specific place you want to find, let me know. Ghostgate consists of 2 towers, the Tower of Dusk, the West Keep, and the Tower of Dawn. The East Keep, with a temple between the 2 towers, and a tunnel beneath the temple leading up Foyada Esanudan into Red Mountain. The Redarin Hostel and Buoyant Armiger Barracks are in the Tower of Dusk. The temple services and the Ordinator Barracks are in the Tower of Dawn. The pilgrimage shrine lies west of the stronghold along a path. There are no travel services out of Ghostgate. Returning to Balmora, follow Foyada Mamaya south until you pass under an ancient Dwemer bridge, then watch for the road leading northwest out of the ravine to Fort Moonmoth and Balmora, or below that, the road leading southeast out of the ravine towards Pelagiad, Seydanin, and points south.
This is Ghostgate, and my name is Fonus Retherin. Let me know if you need information, and if you have any news or the latest rumors, please share them. We get few visitors here. Have you noticed? For all its proclamations about protecting the rights of property and preserving law and order, the Imperial Legion does little enough to capture and prosecute abolitionists. That's a bit hypocritical, don't you think? I am a trader, a general merchant. I buy and faction members only. House Redarin maintains a hostel with beds, food, and sundries in the Tower of Dusk. Redarin also offers services here for retainers and kin. The temple has healers and other services in the Tower of Dawn. Why are you here? You have come a long and dangerous way to this citadel. My name is Rilvas Avani. Tell me if you are looking for someone in particular, for services, or for a specific place. Ghostgate consists of 2 towers. There are no travel services out of Ghostgate. Ghostgate consists of 2 towers. There are no travel services out of Ghostgate. The pilgrimage shrine nearby commemorates the labor and inspiration of the tribunal in creating and maintaining the arcane barriers of the Ghostgate. It also memorializes the courage and sacrifice of the Ordinators, buoyant armigers, crusaders and pilgrims who have lost their lives here defending Morrowind against the damnable hosts of Dagoth-Ur. The light-hearted buoyant armigers are rivals of the more solemn Ordinators in service to the temple. The Order of the Inquisition identifies and suppresses heresy among priests and laymen. Madness is a sickness in the soul. It comes from a lack of faith and a love of sin. All this talk of bad dreams and bad omens, superstition, it's just a sign that people have abandoned the temple and fallen into greed and wickedness. Is there something I can do for you? What brings you to the temple? Have you been Alex in your... What's your rank? No, sorry. Is there something you need? Is there something you need? Yes, Outlander, what do you want? May I help you?
You have come to Ghostgate, Pilgrim, the last good place on the edge of Red Mountain. Rest and take advantages of our services. Or if there's someone in particular you want, or a specific place you want to find, let me know. Ghostgate consists of 2 towers. There are no travel services. Mathera.
Traveling in these storms is unwise.
I don't know you. What do you want? You honor me. Stop it. Stop it. What do you... It's okay, really. I didn't mean it. I am Telin Turco, Archer. About 50% of Vvardenfell's inhabitants are Dunmer. The other half are Redguard, Breton, Nord, Altmer, Dunmer, Bosmer, Imperial, Khajiit, Argonian, and Orc in roughly equal proportion. If someone attacks you first, you have the right to defend yourself. If someone doesn't attack you first, you're going to break the law if you attack him. If you want to talk to an archer about archery, talk to Ian in Ebonheart. You can usually find him wandering around on the plaza near the docks, where the dragon statue is.
I suppose it is my duty to help those less fortunate than myself.
I don't know you. What do you want? I am a witch hunter. I dedicate body and soul to the destruction of profane magics. Most foul are necromancers, who defile the bodies and spirits of the sacred dead. Equally abominable are the evil Daedra worshippers. The Daedra lords delight in the torment and corruption of mortals, and they reward followers with terrible powers always used for evil purposes. In employing the tools of the enemy, the spells of the College of Conjuration, I risk contamination, but fire must be fought with fire. Most Dunmer worship the Tribunal, 3 mortals who became gods in the distant past before Tiber Septim. The temple takes care of the poor, provides health and education, and teaches family duty. If you're looking for someone to talk to about the witch hunter's trade in Morrowind, you should talk to Melvur Rindu at the Hall of Justice in Vivec. Buy from merchants and traders who like you. You get better prices. Members of your own factions usually like you best. At first, it seemed the fuss about the Nerevarine prophecy was just silly superstition. Then I learned that the Dunmer have been waiting for Lord Nerevar to come back for centuries. The Incarnate, they call it. Every few years an Ashlander appears, and the tribes call him the Incarnate. Then the temple goes out, hunts him down, and reveals him as a fake. Why does the temple worry so much about it? We Altmer are proud, wise, and beautiful. The Empire is built on the arts, crafts, and sciences of the High Elves. Our pure blood protects us from disease and makes us superior spellcrafters.
What assistance do you need?